On this episode of Rock Down South, we sit down with country artist Dylan Wolfe. This is a killer episode that we had fun with, so you definitely don't want to miss this one. We hope you all enjoy. Let's go.
Hey y'all, this is Dylan Wolfe, and you're listening to Rock Down South.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Rock Down South, your home for rock and country music. Today, Paul and I had the pleasure of speaking with country artist Dylan Wolfe, and we were pretty excited for this interview. Dylan has this really incredible voice and sound that I think people are going to go absolutely crazy for. I mean, people have actually already gone crazy for him, and he's had some tremendous success and growth as an artist this past year. We talk all about his journey, his sound, and the super interesting background behind his current single, Something to Talk About. So without further ado, here's the show. What's up, Dylan? How you doing today, man?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, man. Thanks you so much for jumping on. Really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited too.
Yeah, no, Dylan, we started out. You said there was a bunch of snow in Nashville, and I don't know if that's something you're I guess used to. I mean, where did you originally grow up?
Southern Illinois.
Okay, so you're pretty used to, I guess, the devil's dandruff outside. Then I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty used to the weather being like 92 degrees one day and like 63 and 32, just whatever it really decides.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I actually live in Nashville as well. I'm over on the east side. I've been over there for about 4 years now. What part of town are you in?
Right now, I stay part time in Brentwood,
Okay.
so I stay with my. I'm sure you guys have heard of Bailey Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Never heard of him. No.
Yeah, never heard of him. But no, him and I actually grew up together in Southern Illinois. So it was kind of an easy transition whenever he started really blowing up. Um, I travel back and forth from Illinois to Nashville because my daughter lives here. So yeah, so I spent about 3 to 4 days in Nashville, try to about every week, and then come home for about 3 or 4 days, and depending on my shows and stuff. So it's kind of a back and forth thing.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Oh, nice. So grew up in Illinois. Tell me a little bit more about that background growing up.
Yeah, man. When I was we've lived in Illinois, all our lives. And my dad, he worked in the oil field for a good while, up until the point I think I was like 17 right before I graduated high school. And he ended up buying the oil field company that he kind of helped build and help run. And that's kind of what I did. I worked under him for about 9 years, and then about halfway through that is when I really started getting heavily into into music. Taught myself how to play guitar and started kind of playing local gigs and working 60, 70 hours in the oil field and gigging on the weekends, just putting in the work. So
Oh, wow. What age was that when you started playing?
I started playing music around 23. I started playing live around 23, and I started kind of dabbling in it when I was like 2021.
Okay. 2021 started doing the music thing. I mean, did you sing in the choir or do anything before that? Or did you just start singing then? And you're like, I think I could probably do this.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I kind of thought maybe when I was in high school that maybe I could, but never really could get over that fear factor of being able to sing in front of anybody. And I was like, well, the only way I'm going to be able to do it and it not be weird, is if I learn how to play guitar. So yeah, I taught myself how to play guitar. It took me about a year or so, and before I was comfortable enough to really start playing out. And one night I was at a party with some friends, and this another local singer who I was actually in a duo partnership, Ben Nation, sang with him for about 4 years. I jumped up and was like, "Hey man, can I see your guitar?" And he was like, "I guess." And I played 3 a.m. Matchbox 20, and everybody seemed to love it. So I was just like, it was like that adrenaline rush. I was like, okay, I got to do this now.
Yeah. So I guess other than the drunken 3 a.m. Matchbox 20 cover, there was there another moment where you thought, all right, this is the moment I'm going to pursue this. This is what I'm going to do. Obviously, you maybe had the oil field kind of background where you could have a steady job, but was there a moment other than that, or was that the moment where you thought, all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to pursue full time?
It was really weird how it kind of came together, because I I had a bunch of different times where I was like there was one time halfway through it, I sold my guitars and I was done with it, you know? And uh, it was just so weird how things happened by the grace of God. You know, certain people showed up in my life at the nick of time, and you know, of course, I love playing live and playing covers, and that was fun. But I would say, you know, it was I'd released probably I'd went down and I'd started releasing my own music, and I wasn't really getting a whole lot of buzz on it, you know, um, past where you know, kind of regional from where I'm from, and started taking vocal lessons and started getting better, and started my following started to grow, and had a I don't know, it's one day I was just like, if I'm gonna do this and spend this time away from my family and you know, actually take this serious, you know, I really have to put the pedal down. And things just kind of started falling into place. You know, I had some viral moments on my social medias, and you know, when you wake up and a video has 2-3 million views on it, it really puts a fire underneath you. And you know, my following on my Instagram was at like 2,000, and in a matter of 6 months, I was over 100K. Um,
Wow.
TikTok, I was at like 20,000, and in a matter of 6 months, I was over a quarter million. And I just had recent viral stuff on Facebook. You know, I was at 11,000 followers in November, and now I'm at 300,000. You know,
It's incredible.
with reels just going crazy, and now my songs are streaming in the millions, and it's just really, you know, it's just little bit by little bit. You know, little things happen, and they motivate you to just to go that extra mile. And now I'm to the point where I've played shows for 5-6,000 people, and you know, opened for some bigger acts, and really got involved. And now I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for a living. You know, I can do this for a living and be very successful at it. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And you put in the work and actually saw the results. And I'm sure that's I guess borderline addicting at some point where you're thinking, okay, I'm finally getting recognized for this. People are actually seeing who I am and the passion I have for this, and it trends. And that seems like nowadays if you can get that social media following up, then kind of the rest just starts to fall into place. So I know that's probably a huge win to see that happen in a short amount of time.
yeah, man, that was definitely one of those things where it's like you do it and you see it work, and you're like, okay, yeah, I got to keep doing this. I got to, you know, keep riding this thing, and you know, people start recognizing it and helping out. And one person, Drew Baldridge, he's, you know, an Illinois boy too, and he kind of, you know, he's been there here and there kind of helping out, you know, for the last 3 or 4 years, just, you know, writing songs. And he told me something one day after we got done eating dinner. He was just like, you know, you don't have to be the most talented person, you just got to work harder than they do. And if one thing I had, you know, was a work ethic out of this world. And I just, you know, people all the time, they come up and they want advice, or they, you know, what'd you do and how'd you do it? And I just sacrifice everything. You know, you have to work harder than everybody. When you don't want to get up and take the meeting or take the phone call or make the drive or play the show, you have to. And the moment that you say no, the moment that you turn your back on it, it's game over. You're losing the whole point. You know, it's just because you're not, maybe, you know, maybe the show is pointless, but you're training your mind to work hard, you know. And I got to do it, because you never know. You know just as well as I do, a lot of this business is luck and being in the right place. And you know, that's I've just lived on that. And you know, Drew, me and him wrote actually Wasting My Time together. And I was like, man, that was my first song where I was like, man, this is huge. And went viral on TikTok. It was like 3 or 4 million views, and really got everybody excited about it. And you know, wrote another one that did the same thing. And I was just like, boys, we gotta really hammer down. So we've been working on a project this year where we're really excited about releasing here in 2023, that I think is going to do some pretty crazy stuff. So
That's cool, man.
Yeah, that's great.
We're definitely going to ask about that here in a little bit. But before that, I want to talk about what I like about you as an artist. And specifically, the thing that stood out to me was your voice, because I think it's pretty distinct. I really like it. And it's got that raspiness sound to it that you don't really hear from a ton of other artists, you know, in Nashville and whatnot. It kind of reminds me of, you remember that band Tender, the singer Austin Winkler?
yeah, I was going to say, everybody calls me a country hinder. Literally everybody, like any like management label, everybody's just like, send them a song, man, that sounds like Hinder. Man. I get compared to Nickelback. I get compared to Nickelback a lot too.
No, I'd say the Hinder, which I'd say is a great thing to be compared to. I mean, they had some bangers of songs
Oh
and
yeah.
vocals are incredible. So, I mean, you're going to be compared to somebody with an awesome voice. That guy's the guy to be compared to.
Yeah, anybody that's like, I'm compared to the guy that sang "Lips of an Angel." All right, like that's some pretty cool stuff right there.
Have you ever covered that song live?
Oh, every show.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's the only one you can get away with playing at a country show because everybody's like, it's like, even the people in the back. I always say this, like, especially with Nickelback. I'm just like, all right, who likes Nickelback? And there's some people put their heads down. And I'm just like, you start singing "How You Remind Me," and everybody's just like, all right, I kind of like this one.
Those guys are making a comeback, man. Things are changing for them. They got a brand new tour. They're just announced with Brantley Gilbert. Tickets just went on sale for that. I mean, they're making some big strides. They got a new album out, and it sounds pretty good. I listened to it.
Yeah, I feel like Dylan's right though. I mean, as much as people may want to hate on those kind of early 2000s rock, if you play "Lips of an Angel," you hear it at a karaoke bar, you hear it at a cover or something like that, you're gonna sing along. I mean, you want to say that you're not going to, but you know that you're going to as soon as it comes on, man. I mean, I have no shame in admitting that.
Oh yeah, force a habit for sure. Every time.
100%.
Well, a lot of the Nickelback stuff, is Joey Moy, who did a lot of their stuff and then went on to do a whole lot of country stuff as well. So,
Yeah, it's true.
of course, the similarities in the DNA are kind of in it. So,
Oh, and you can tell with like everything that Hardy releases that Joey Moy puts out. It's just like, you can see you can see the Nickelbacks coming out in them.
absolutely, absolutely.
Which it makes it a lot easier for artists like me, who for a long time I struggled with, like, I'm a country artist, but I had a really hard time with singing about dirt roads and trucks and tractors. And when Hardy and Wallen and these guys start coming out with this stuff, it's like, okay, like, so we're allowed to do that now. All right, well, here's this.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it like that, but I won't say they've paved the way because there's been a lot of people that have mixed that kind of sound in there, but they've made it a little bit more acceptable and mainstream for people to be a little bit different in terms of getting a little bit heavier and rocking with their music.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Like, you don't necessarily have to like if you want to rock it up, like if you want to go real rocked up with it, well, just think about country stuff, And if you don't want to sing about country stuff, maybe dial it back a little bit on the production side.
So, speaking of production, you got a brand new single out that I absolutely love, Something to Talk About. I believe it came out in November. Tell us about that song because this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, that song is actually hilarious. So, I was Gavin Lucas. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. He was he's the co-writer on basically everything that Zimmerman releases, and he lives there at the house with Bailey, and just a super talented kid and guy. And I run all of my ideas by him. One of the smartest people I know, and I'm just like, I was in a bad mood one day, and he's like, he's like, what are you doing, man? And he's always curious, what are you doing? I was like, I'm messing with this song. I said, I don't know. Here's the first line I got. And I said, I can hear my ears ringing behind my back. And he was like, oh, that's cool, man. I was like, yeah. He was like, well, what's it about? And I was like, people running their mouth all the time about things they don't know anything about. And that's kind of how the second verse kind of got wrote. And so we wrote it in like an hour, like the song front to back in an
No
hour.
way.
And yeah. And I was like, cool, yeah. So I put the voice memo in. I just kind of left it be, and we were sitting there. Me and my producer Sean Rogers. We were sitting there, and after we released "Wasting My Time," I was like, he's like, "Well, do you want to get another project in before the end of the year?" And I was like, "I don't really know what I'm going to cut." I was like, "We've got that Tears for the Girls." I said, "I've already cut vocals to it." I said, "I guess we can put that out." And he's like, "Yeah." You got anything else? I was like, "Not really." And it just dawned on me. I was like, well, I got this voice memo here. And I showed it to him. He was like, why have you hid this from me? And I was like, well, I didn't really hide it from you. I was like, I didn't really know if I was going to cut it or not. And long story short, I wasn't going to cut it. It was just one of those deals where I was like having a bad day. And it was kind of like, is kind of my way. Like it kind of helped me like just not be, mad and aggravated. I was like, yeah, it was a good way to vent. I was like, yeah, that'll teach him. And then next thing you know, we're cutting it and it sounds freaking awesome. And I'm like, I'm putting this out. And I put the video on TikTok, and overnight I got 2 million views. And put it
Wow.
on Facebook, and my reels on Facebook are getting millions almost every time I post them. So obviously that helped like crazy. And everybody was just like, dude, that song is your best one yet, And it was just kind of crazy because I held on to the song for 7 months before I ever even showed anybody.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
How would you even describe the song? I mean, it's kind of like ballady and it's kind of slow starting, but it's got that rock to it. But it's not like a super positive song either. It's talking about people talking about you behind your back, which has a nice juxtaposition with the kind of ballady-ish feel at parts. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's fun.
Well, like it was so the it was funny. So when I really started getting into the social media game and really posting things and getting my confidence up there here in like the last year or so ago, I lost a bunch of weight. I was 270, 280, and I ended up losing like, I think I lost 85 pounds.
Congrats.
And living in a little town, with a family history, I say that lightly, of people who've been in trouble. People who've been in trouble. There's a lot of rumors going around that I was on drugs, and that's what the bridge is. Why it says like I'm lost or found, and it's a shame that I'm looking thin when I'm with the wrong crowd. And I guess you got me figured out upstairs looking down, because it was all the people that were the uppity ups, upstairs looking down. I guess it's anything to entertain you when I'm not around. And it was kind of like that way of just being like, it was an FU song, and someone asked me, they were like, well, what message are you getting across? And I was like, well, one message is, it doesn't really matter what people say about you. You know, they, like I said in the beginning, they pat your back, and then all of a sudden, now that I've made something, they're just like, oh, we always knew you'd be somebody, And then when I go to my shows, play my shows, and all these people are out, screaming the words to my songs, and they're acting like my best friend. But then, I get home, they're like, I hear something was said or whatever. Like, did you hear about this? And I was like, well, that was weird, because they were just at my show acting like my best friend. So it was one of those deals where I was like, it's a confidence booster for everybody, but at the same time, it was just like, the people that hear this song, there's a select few, they're gonna know it's about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, they're gonna listen to it, and there was a couple of parts, there was a couple of subtle parts that I won't really get into, but like when they hear it, they're gonna be like, I'm the one that said that. That's about me. And he knows, because I never confronted him about it. It got to the point where it was just like, what's the point of confronting him? You know? And I was like, so like they're gonna hear that, and they're gonna be like, he knows that I was the one that said those things. So it was kind of cool just the way it laid out. I was just like, I kind of felt just like, you know, in a sense cocky about it, but it was in a good way, because I was just like, there's so many people that go through that, through life, growing up in my kind of background. We didn't come from a family with a lot of money, and dad did a lot of things on his own, and as a single parent for the half of my life, and so, a lot of things was said, and you did a lot of things to get by. And heck, when I was 4 years old, I was paralyzed from the waist down with a leg disease, and it was like till I was 7. I didn't walk until I was 7 years old. So you just go back and you look at all of those things, and you would never picture someone like me that went through that being here. And it's just like, yeah, man, it's just, at the end of the day, it's about what you put your mind to and how hard you're willing to work. If you're willing to outwork everybody, if you can see it, you can make it happen. And that's just the vibe that I've just rolled, and it's true. It's so true. You keep your faith, and you work hard, and we mess up, but do your best to be a good person and do it for the right reasons, and it's going to prevail, one way or another.
Wow. Yeah, man. That's so two things about it. I love the fact that you openly said, yeah, there's some lines in here where the people who know it's about them, they're going to know it's about them. Just a straight up subtweet of, hey, like I heard what you said, and there's a reason I'm on stage and you're in the crowd. So
Yeah.
take it however you want, but you know what, this is for you. And it is funny. I mean, you meet some people that, you know, you start something new, you try something creative, and people say, oh, that'll never work. That's so dumb. And there's always naysayers. And then when you get a little bit of cloud, you get a little bit of recognition, and they're like, oh, I've always believed in you, man. I'm so proud of you. And it's like, are you though? I mean, were you though?
Yeah,
Were you always behind me? So it's funny. I mean, it's in any industry, it's that way.
and that's what it is too. It's like what's funny is like, you always hear, oh, don't get too big city on us, or don't get too big time for us little people. You hear stuff like that, and then you hear like, oh well, he won't return my calls, and he must think he's too good. And it's just like, I'm not returning your calls because I know what you said about me.
Yeah.
So it's just like at the
Yeah.
same time, like I haven't talked to him in 6 months. They think I'm out here big time in it, but it's just like, I just know a little bit more than I know a little bit no more than what you think I know there, bud.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That's funny. That's funny. And so that's the main single. And so will there be some more maybe songs to the haters coming on a new album? What do you think? A new EP, more music coming out in
Just
2023?
song for the haters. I don't know if I've got any more.
Any more diss tracks in you?
Yeah, I think that one got a pretty good point across.
Yeah.
But no, yes. Long story short on that, yeah. So Drew Baldridge actually called me up back in November and was like, "Hey, man, I want to work on this project," and we're kind of seeing where that goes as we speak. But we wrote 12 or 15 songs, and we got a few more rights to finish up. But our goal was to write 12 to 15 songs and pick our 4 or 5 favorites of those songs, like just the absolute bangers. Go in and produce them, do a real good job on the vocals, get some vocal lessons in there, and really be prepared for it, and have a bunch of good content, some music videos for a couple of our favorites. And with the social media growing like it is, we think it's a perfect time to really really put the hammer down. And I would say we've got probably, there's 5 right now that's on the table that we're wanting to cut. 2 that are guaranteed. There's 3 that's just like we're kind of battling, like which one's the better one out of the 3. And there's some really 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 solid songs in there that I think is really going to elevate my career to a very very big level.
Awesome. That's exciting, man. We're looking forward to hearing that coming up this year. And I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, you mentioned Hardy, you mentioned Wallen, kind of some of the guys that are doing kind of the country rock kind of crossover, if you will. But what about you just on a personal level? What are you listening to yourself? Where do you find some of your inspiration? Kind of what are you hooked on lately?
Man, I'm a 90s alternative soul from like, I mean, my favorite bands is, Matchbox 20, Goo Goo Dolls, Nickelback, Three Doors Down, Puddle in the Mud. Like I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, of course there's Wallen, there's Hardy, Parker McCollum. I'm a massive Parker McCollum fan.
Yeah.
It's the dude's just so cool, and everything that he does, is just it's awesome. But Cole Wetzel, he's another one of those guys where it's just like he's doing his own thing. He's got his own sound, and it works, and he doesn't give a damn what everybody else thinks. And it's just those guys are really like those group of, and Bailey too. It's weird. Bailey's like his style of music, and a lot of his sound is like my favorite kind of music. So I jam a lot of his stuff, and I'm actually a co-writer on one of his songs. Surprisingly enough, it's my least favorite out of the songs that he has, but definitely a blessing to be a part of that album. But yeah, man, just those guys all in general. Um, as far goes as the guys doing the thing right now, but I have a very alternative persuasion, to everything that I do for sure.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, you mentioned that that the one of your first live performances was 3 a.m. Matchbox 20 cover. So I mean, hey, stick to what you know, throw what you know, man. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
For sure, for sure.
So these next questions are what we close with and ask everyone.
Okay.
So first question, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Man, I don't know. I don't know because save money because you're gonna because you're gonna need it. But other than that, I don't really have any regrets. Other than I probably should have been a little bit more careful with my money. Because I was, man, you got to think, playing music and working in the oil field and stuff. I was making quite a bit of it, but spending it about as fast as I was getting it. So
Good advice.
Yeah, it have sometimes I have to tell myself that now to be smarter with my money. So I mean, maybe that's just yeah. I would say I agree with that as well for my 21-year-old self. What are you drinking lately? If you come home from a recording session, you're celebrating something. What are you sipping on these days?
yeah, man, I generally I stay away from beer just because coming from a small town, we built a tolerance up. You drink quite a bit of them, and that's kind of how I got the beer gut. But Bush Light, if we're just having a casual beer. But I drink sugar-free Red Bull and vodka, and Tito's vodka most of the time,
Okay, yeah.
or like a Crown Vanilla and Diet Coke or Coke Zero or something.
Gotcha. So responsible, healthy drinking, I guess, is what it sounds like on your fitness journey.
Yeah, unless I'm like if I go out, I love Rumple Mints.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm a Rumpies guy.
That's an
So maybe
Illinois northern person thing. Nobody drinks that stuff in the South.
yeah, maybe that's something else you could tell your 21-year-old self is, hey, we're still drinking Rumple Mints. Maybe that's something you can also tell yourself then.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna be doing this Rumple Mint thing 10 years from now. So
Yeah,
just
get
prepare
used to
yourself.
it. Get
Yeah.
used to it.
So, as you know, this is Rock Down South. So, what is something, or maybe a couple things that come to mind, that you love about the South?
The beach. I mean, as far goes as like everything, if I could live down south, I would for sure, 100%. Like just everything about the Alabama and Florida and Georgia. Like, I've played one show in Florida, and just being down there in the atmosphere or whatever. I love warm weather. I love beaches. I love suns out, guns out, freaking sunglasses, shorts, doing the dad jeans. So I just love the weather, man. I just love the atmosphere and everything about it. It's like an everyday vacation.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. But thank you so much, Dylan, for being a part of the show today. Where can people find and connect with you online?
So Dylan Wolfe official on Instagram, Dylan Wolfe Music on Facebook, Dylan Wolfe Music on TikTok as well. There's a bunch of fake accounts, so just make sure you're picking the one that's got all the posts on it and the large following, because they'll try to scam you.
And you're not going to be emailing anybody asking them for money in their DMs.
No, no, I don't. I do not send DMs and I do not send emails ever, unless it's business related.
It's funny having fake accounts. I feel like that may not be a bad thing. I feel like that may be something that is another sign that that this is things are going well. When people are trying to imitate you and people are trying to I guess quote unquote steal your account identity, I think that might be a sign of good things. Honestly, I think that's a little bit of clout.
It was for a while until they got up in like the 3 or 4 thousands, and
Oh God.
yeah, and it kind of got overwhelming to the point where like they were convincing people that they were convincing these women that I was in relationships with them, and convincing them all these weird things. So I had people like there was a few times where I had people like show up to my shows and think that we had been in a 6 month long relationship, and I had to have like security like tell them like, hey,
Oh
that's
wow.
that's not the
All
case.
right.
So it's a little overwhelming, but
Okay, I take back what I said. I take
yeah.
back what I said.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not something that I definitely need the blue check mark to help separate myself from all the other accounts. I think it'd get a little bit better.
Gotcha. Wow, that is nuts. I did not know that. So okay, all right. So look for the official accounts. Then moral of the story.
Yes, yes, definitely do that.
Got it.
And do you have anything coming out that you want people to know about? Any music videos or new singles dropping soon?
No, man, we're gonna be in the studio cutting tracks, all those songs, and I would just tell everybody to be looking out in like probably the middle of March, beginning of April for some from some serious stuff. I don't know how we're gonna lay it out, if we're gonna do an EP or singles, but I know we're gonna have new music around that time. So
Thank you so much for listening to this show today. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Paul and I had a really fantastic time chatting with Dylan. Not only is he a super talented artist, but he's an awesome, down to earth guy as well. Really excited to see what he has in the works, and I'm sure his career is going to be taking off like a rocket ship pretty soon. So make sure to go follow Dylan on all of his social media pages and check out his latest single, For Something to Talk About. You can find all our content at rockdownsouth.com, and make sure to go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest updates. Leave us a 5-star review if you can. We would really appreciate it. And as always, the views and opinions expressed by our guests are theirs and don't necessarily reflect our own. I'm Mark, and you've been listening to Rock Down South. See y'all next time.